How you guys doing? Geezer and Rancher and Tony and Rick, Lucy, and how are you? Dominic, Tony, Flip and Zippo. Flip and Zippo, you're usually late. What happened? Okay, good to see everybody. Um, hey, Abdul. Abdul, I got to talk to you. I got I some I was posting things this morning, Abdul, on the different there's 4 or 5 maybe other um Facebook pages that I belong to and contribute to in one way or another. And I posted on the German watches, and one of your people there decided that what was posted was should be banned and should ban me from stuff. So they did until December. So I'm not going to be able to reach out to any of the other Facebook pages until December. What I posted was simply an announcement that we're having our usual Saturday morning stream. It's I've and a lot of you guys have helped out on this. You get these guys on your site, and they have they have some kind of religious thing, or they're selling timeshares in Florida. God knows what they are, and you ask them to leave, and you ban them. And I think this is payback. So I may not be able to post anything outside of High Horology Lounge until December, when they decide I have no longer guilty of whatever transaction. Love Facebook. I mean, there's I get all of these nut jobs. One of them gets mad. So that's the way it goes. So anyway, guys, listen. Hi, Indrajit. Tim, how are you? Tim, you got banned too? Silly stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm not interested enough to ban. That's the way I look at it. I'm not going to worry about it. You guys, I'll be on High Horology Lounge on Facebook if you ever want to contact me. So I'm not going to worry about it. Don't let them send you to a camp. Okay. I don't want to go to camp. Oh man. Well, anyway, see how you. Let's see, Neferon, how you doing, Tim? Let's see, Chrono Unique, Flip and Zippo, Tim. Let's see who else we got here. All right, Koji. Hi, Koji. Yeah. It's getting bad. I know, Tim. You get, it, you get some whack job, and I'm not talking about any specific religion, any religion, Christian, Muslim, voodoo, doesn't matter. They're fine. It's just keep them, go on sites that talk about that stuff. Also, too, you get all kinds of weird stuff, but that's the internet. And so let's talk about our topic today. Okay, let's see. What I want to talk about is this. After doing that thing on, oh God, what's his name? Louis Monnier. It's not Louis Monnier. I think so. Yeah, Louis Monnier. Voodoo, isn't there a watch called Voodoo? Probably, Raj. Cancel culture is getting out of hand. I don't know if it's cancel culture. That's sort of a right-wing term to, it's just like, I think it's payback. Rancher, it could have been the beret. That would have fit a lot of people. I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm the good thing is that I had to set up a Facebook page. Just call it, hello jerks, or something like that. Hi, NS something. Okay, so after doing the thing on Louis Monet, I started thinking about this. Is that when you look at Louis Monet, and sort of the silence of the what they're doing. I mean, you have all of this stuff about, oh, we have this and this and this, and we're named after the guy who invented the chronograph. And of course, we'll get an argument on was he really the one, but that's another story. Um, and I got to thinking, is that what's his name? Beaver was talking about the how back in the good old days, back in the day, and he's crying in his beer about how everybody, used stuff from everyone else, and sort of a istopsaz kind of approach to watchmaking. And I was wondering, well, does that really matter? I mean, like, it, and to me, what matters isn't the fact that somebody takes a movement from here, a case from here, and something else from someplace else. But rather, they don't tell you about it, or they act like they're sitting there with all of their workshop and they're doing everything at this great high standards and so forth. And in fact, they're doing something very different. Now, um, the so anyway, I wanted to get your sights on that. Let me give you an example. I got on my Culpa, and and the reason I just said, well, I'll put this one on. This represents a company that has almost total vertical organization. Parmigiani is a watchmaker, and then Vaucher makes the movements. Otto Kalpa makes the springs. There's another company that is part of the Sandoz Family Foundation that makes all of these different things, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I like it because you have somebody who's really good at doing some aspect of a watch, working on it, and it's part of this larger group. I think that another example was Beauvais when Pascal Raffi, Rascal Palfi, Pascal Raffi took over Beauvais. He bought all of these movement making companies, put them together into a thing, and called them Demier. And so he's really got sort of what he calls Beauvais 1822, and then Demier 17 something or other. Okay, that's fine, And I don't know. Hi, William Rizzo and Mohammed. So hi, Robert. And anyway, so we have these things that are two different kinds. On the one hand, the whole concept of in-house has become such a criteria, and those guys, God knows what goes into them. For example, H. Moser. I was talking to the head of H. Moser, and they sell, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 watches a year or something like that. I think the number's gone up. But they sell 70,000 hairsprings. And so they're making a hairspring for somebody else. I mean, but they won't say who. By the way, MB&F is great. I agree. Now, MB&F, it's like, let's Martin Boozer and Friends. I think it's something like that. I probably said it wrong. I usually do. And what they do is say, well, we do this, we get these people, and we get everybody involved, and we really make these good watches. And they do. Hi, Lee Todd. So that's sort of thing. And so the question is that, where is it a good and healthy thing? And where is it simply another opportunity for some kind of deception? Boy, oh boy, I think, hey, Clyde, we're going to get banned from YouTube pretty quick. Okay. Oh my God. Anyway. Oh, by the way, happy Juneteenth to everybody. Okay, let's see. Abdul's the nicest watch guy. He is. I agree. Well, he and Rancher, you got two guys neck and neck on that. Um, let's see, Laurent Ferrier and Chopek are examples of assemblage and high horology. Chopek has full disclosure. Yeah, Rick, I tell you, Rick on watches. This, I think that's the ideal. It's not so much that it's done. There's a little company called Ophion, I think is the name of it, and they have they tell you where they get all of their stuff from. They have their cases from Butenlanen and Kalen. They have their movements. They get those from not Teletubby. They're Techno Time, and then they had something that belongs to the company of the Spanish group that owns Soprod, and Soprod has a deal with this other manufacturing company and all of this other stuff. And so Ophion makes these watches, and you get these really great watches at a really great price. And they're not, they don't have to fib about it. And you have another one. This is one that's really funny. I don't know if you're familiar with a German company called Linefelder. They're located in Munich. And other than a couple of exceptions, their watches is sort of I don't know, whoever did the dial on them, they're hideous. And but they have the UWD 31.1 movement, the one that Marco Lang made for UWD before he left Lang and Heim. And so here you have this watch, this really terrible looking watch with this great movement in it. And I think they do brag about the movement, thank God, because they can't brag. Say, oh, we've got these really great looking watches. I don't know who did their dials for them. That's something else. So, okay, let's see. Didn't Biver basically state that the whole in-house emphasis was a marketing ploy that was going to come back and bite the industry? He may have said that. He says a lot of different things too, but there's he seems, on the one hand, he sort of justifies it, and on the other hand, he encourages it. Basically, what they had to do was that they had to come up with some story of why mechanical watches were so important, and why they were able to charge so much. Is that you have this great thing that they come out with after the quartz crisis, and I think Hayek and some other people got together and came up with something so suckers like us will go out and pay a whole lot of money for mechanical watches that really aren't that expensive, unless you start adding the crazy price of gold and some of these other things. So anyway, this is what I wanted to kick around with you guys, is that at least from my perspective, is this: it's not that they have this established kind of approach, but rather they don't tell us. I mean, it would be so easy simply to say, we get the best this, we get the best this, very much like Ophion does. I think that's how you pronounce it. Very much like they do. We get the best cases, we get the best movements so that we can keep the price down, or so on and so forth. And here's the watch that we come out with. And so poor old Linefelder says, we get the ugliest dials we can think of and put a really good movement in it. It's crazy. Has anyone here experienced with hint shell? I think Clyde may have had some experience with them. Some of the guys have. This is a German company that Koji is asking about. They're, I think, one of the I don't want to say many, but more than a few, that German companies that they put in a lot of more like ETA 6894s into their watches. Then they do this really great engraving on it and so forth. And it's that kind of watch, making everything in-house a powerful commitment, brand purity. Dominic, that's the other side of the story. And this is something that I think is important too, is that you have a watch company says, okay, we're going to really put the resources together. And I think this is what Beauvais did. Now, Beauvais pulled it out of out of nothing really, and put the whole thing together. I think to some extent, to a large extent, H. Moser did as well. The thing with H. Moser, you have precision engineering is there where they do their movement development and so forth, but it's very much integrated into H. Moser. H. Moser is run by the Malon family. Hey, Watch Monkey. Great. How boy, it's early in Vancouver. Hello, Javi. Let's see, Nepheron. What's up? Okay. Linefelder. That's it. Yeah, they're the ones. They're horrible. They really are. I mean, all they would have to do is put in a plain, nice dial, and Linefelder would be one of the best deals around. But I don't know. They got somebody's ne'er-do-well cousin was doing them. They're not mining your ore. They're not in-house. Yeah, I don't know. The big thing I think that's important is whether they, if a startup wants to make watches, let's say we'll talk about it as we were doing earlier this year or last year, actually, I guess late last year, in the middle of the pandemic, when we were talking about putting something together. So you start off your watch company, and there's two ways that you can do it. Essentially, one as a sort of a watch lover business guy, and the other is as a watchmaker. Now, if you look at some of the guys in the AHCI, that independent watchmakers group, there's this kid from France who makes these incredibly, really beautiful watches. To some extent, Stefan Kadoki does. A lot of people say, well, that's nothing but a harboring 2 movement he uses, and I don't know to what extent that's right or not. But I mean, it's sort of a watchmaker-centered startup, if you want to call it that. Then you have all of these shadow elements. This isn't a shadow element. This is a good example of a company I think is Ophion, making watches with quality parts, telling you what they are. Now, the one thing they do brag about is that they made the hands themselves, which I think is sort of cool. But yeah, Rick. Now, as we all know, there's a difference between what everything really costs. If you get let's say we know from dealing with some companies, the good movements are very, very expensive. The UWD 31.1 was I think it's about $4,000. And by any kind of, I don't know, business formula, the business formula I know best is from publishing. And that's sort of like your price is 10 times your manufacturing cost. Well, if you're starting with $4,000 just for the movement, you're already up to $40,000. I don't mind if a company charges top money for non-in-house as long as it's quality. Yeah, that's sort of my view too. In fact, you can have a company doing the very best they can and really, very sincere about what they're doing, and their movements or some other aspect that they could have done a lot better outhouse, they try to do in-house. I think Linefelder is a good example of that. As long as you're going to get the movement from somewhere else, they ought to do the same thing with the dials. Get somebody who knows what they're doing about the style of dials. Again, I think it comes down to the quality of what you're dealing with. You look at all of the let's see, Van Cleef and Arpels. Now, Van Cleef and Arpels, there's been accumulating all of these prizes from the Grand Prix, and they're admittedly a jewelry company, but they like to have a few watches and very few men's watches. And so what they do is that they went to Agenor. I mean, it's the difference between going to Agenor and then asking for something off the shelf at ETA. There's a huge difference. The one at Agenor was from the ground up. They made a brand new movement, which very few companies can do. I mean, other than something pretty mundane, you don't have the kind of quality, talent that you have in Jean-Marc Wiederreich on even with good watchmakers. So this is something that I think is sort of in that. Okay, it's time for a non sequitur. The watch company wants to know if I own any dive watches. Yeah, my Easy Diver. I do. I've got a dive watch. So there. Pounds on the table with, okay, yeah. Andrew, hi Andrew. I'm not sure how I feel about Chopek charges for their watches. Interesting story, but on par with FPJ and BC, I'm not sure. Hi, Persona Gratis. Oris Caliber 400 is not 100% in-house, but a collaboration with some of the best watch engineers. Okay. That's another thing too, is that if you have, I don't know what the quality of people. Let me give you one example of where I think that real talent could have done more than they were allowed to do. And this is when Daniel Roth was at Bulgari. Bulgari had some guy there who was the head of the movements and so forth, and he and Roth didn't get along very well, and Roth put up with it for a year, and after the contract was up, left. To me, they squandered a really incredible talent. On the other hand, Breguet, when the Chaumet brothers hired Daniel Roth to help revive Breguet, my God, they said, go do it, and he did. So you have sort of a different ways in which I think real talent is used. There was speaking of which, Diaz, I think his name was Diaz, the guy that was with Roger Dubuis. There's a lot of criticism about Diaz. I forgot his first. I think his last name was Diaz. What was his first name? Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. I probably put out a few too. And Tim Mosso, I don't want to abuse Tim's last name. Tim Mosso said, well, this is what Diaz did. Well, Dubuis, was developing movements and so forth, and he did. He said Diaz was running the company and doing a lot of I think almost all of the designs. And so some of the designs, whether you like them or not, that's doing something. So he said, don't sell him too short, because he was one of these guys who's really arrogant, and he'd go puffing around, making people mad at him, but he really was doing some stuff. And so this is I thought that was sort of interesting on that. Not to mention MB&F and HW prior to acquisition. Linefelder should just start saying that they have preschoolers design. Preschoolers. I don't know, man. I don't know whether there's something, whether they'd end up on the refrigerator door or not. They're so bad. They have one that's pretty decent. And it's got a picture of, I think, some landmark in, where is it? I forgot the town that they're in. But anyway, a simple move, just a simple movement. If you look at a lot of movements in all different watch companies, there are only a very few sort of dials that they have. Um, and very few fonts that they use. Some of them are nothing more than the indexes around it, but they're very simple for the most part. There's a font, I think it's referred to as the Breguet font, that I have on my Vacheron Constantin 1921. And if you go to what's it called, the AliExpress or one of those places in China, and you can get all kinds of different dials from them, and most of them look exactly the same as the storied French dials. There's some interesting. There's this one guy, I think a contemporary, who has these really good-looking Art Deco designs on his dials. I don't know what the rest of his watches are. Let's see. Panerai are masters at that. Okay. Yeah, they're masters at sort of giving you partial truth. Hey, Truman Burbank, how you doing? I'm thinking that even a swap VC56 complete calendar, trade it with a VC traditional self-winding in white gold. Okay, this is Tim. Those are really good examples. Now, the thing about it is that here you have the 56, and you have it really on two levels. You've got, this is Vacheron Constantin. They're owned by Richemont Group. Here on the one hand, you've got the 56, what they call the automatic, or self-winding, one of the two, and it has a movement base from Val Fleurier, which is the name of the sort of movement maker for a lot of different Richemont-owned companies. And as soon as you get to the complete calendar, you've got a full movement that has nothing to do with Val Fleurier, but its origins are all in Vacheron Constantin. So, and the Traditional, though, is a very nice watch too. Hi, Indigit, Bavarian, Linefelder's Bavarian capital, Munich. That's it. It's in Munich. Thanks, Indigit. I couldn't think of the name of it. Hi, John. How you doing? Glad you're here. Your first live episode. Hi, watch and pray. Okay. Hi, John. Okie doke. How are we doing on time? Well, I got a minute left. Let's see your final thoughts on this Assemblage. Hi, Jose. How you doing? I got into the case and polishing on steel Rolex modules are done by a third party. Excuse me. Yeah, now this is another way to look at it. Let's take polishing, for example, the one that Josas came up with. Got me excited there. Anyway, and so they do the polishing and everything. You talk about polishing, boy. When I got this back from Parmigiani for my service and overhaul, they did a wonderful polishing job. But let's say that there's nobody at Rolex who's very good at polishing. Okay, it's just something they don't want to bother with, or they hired somebody who didn't do a very good job. So here's this third party that comes along and says, "Hey, we specialize in polish. We could polish all of your cases for you. How about it?" And say, "Yeah, I have certain things like." Polishing is one thing. Finishing is another thing. I was reading this thing that Vacheron Constantin had. They said just to train somebody who's good at finishing takes 2 years. Oh my God, just to get it all finished up. My final thought: 30 years from now, people will laugh about how people used to turn up their noses at a non-100% in-house watch. Yeah, you have, one of the things I've been getting. Oh, by the way, got one thing I found out that was really interesting. I got this Daniel Roth Metropolitan. Love the watch. Really a cool watch. And it's got a solid back sill, and actually I opened the back to see what was in it, turned the rotor around, took a bunch of pictures and so forth. And I looked at that, man, I tell you, that regulator, I know that is an ETA regulator. No two ways about it. And I thought it was a 2892. I talked to a guy who used to work at Girard-Perregaux, and he said that's what it looks like to him too. Then this other guy who knew a French watchmaker who worked with Daniel Roth said, "Hey, could you send me those pictures?" So I sent him the pictures that I had that showed the movement, and he got back to me and he said, he said that's a Lamania, and he gave me I think it was a Lamania 27, and they put an ETA regulator on it. And that I thought was really interesting, is that, sort of you could combining two. And then, of course, Daniel Roth did a whole lot of work on it to come up with this very unique Metropolitan that it's a sort of a world timer that also has a module in there on a couple pin pushers for if one of them is daylight saving times and the other one isn't. Really very interesting watch. But here you have a movement that is really a combination of three different hands. On the one hand, you have the Lamania, which apparently is a base. Then they decided to put a regulator from ETA, and then you got Daniel Roth doing the actual work of making what was finally called the DR 700/20. So you had a lot of hands in that one that I didn't know about. I thought, well, I don't put it past that they won't do anything. Anyway, hey Zaid, how you doing, man? Okay, it's time to go. I got to run. Mr. Valjuz, rest of you guys. We'll talk about this more this afternoon. Some of the places that I left a message this morning about our our meetings, I've been banned for. I don't know. I guess if you disagree with somebody, they say grounds for banning. So anyway, I'm always at High Horology Lounge, and so everyone take care. Hope to, if you're around and you're awake and it's not 3 o'clock in the morning, hope to see you later today. Take care.